Welcome, friends, to Between Two Sermons. I am in the catbird seat or whatever, John's old seat or normal seat, because John gave the sermon this week, and we are at Ephesians chapter 4, second part of the chapter. And it is perhaps one of the more familiar parts of the chapter, at least the key verse that I think is the central part of your sermon, speaking the truth in love. And your line was, or your key point, there are no self-made saints.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly what's in the passage itself.
Right.
So the idea is Paul uses this imagery of the body in 1 Corinthians 12. He uses it. Colossians, he uses it.
Yeah.
But here he uses it with a different kind of twist to it. He gives it kind of this spiritual bodybuilding, I think I said.
Right, spiritual bodybuilding.
Yeah,
I like that line.
And it's this exercise that actually allows us to grow in our faith, but we can't do it alone. None of us can grow in our faith alone. I think there's sometimes there's this idea that if I were just on an island with a Bible, I would be the most righteous person in the world. But the fact is, all of us need other people. We're designed to grow through relationships, actually.
Right.
We need other people pushing back on us. We need to speak to other people. And that's the way that we grow, is that way. So there are no self-made saints is another way of just saying that you can't do this growth thing on your own.
Right.
And how that's lived out is by speaking the truth in love.
Right. So you said it so well. Then that last sentence, so tell us a little bit more, unpack a little more this, let's call it the heart of spiritual bodybuilding, how you and I, or we as Christians, actually do that. Because as you said also, I think you implied that, maybe you just said it when you talk about sitting with a Bible by yourself, but it's human's inclination is not really to move in that direction.
Right.
You talked about your own condition with diabetes, and we fight against ourselves, we work against ourselves. That's a physical reality, that diagnosis. But spiritually or emotionally, or we tend to just sort of isolate. We tend to be, in that sense, work against our own best interests.
Yes.
And so the challenge is this, just like I don't want to work out, for physical health. It's my natural inclination is not to want to work out. It's a discipline. Speaking the truth in love is the spiritual bodybuilding that is required for maturity. So talk a little bit about it.
I love that.
What are the ways in which there's sort of two sides to it? And
I love what you're describing there. It's not something we want to do, like working out.
Right.
I like the way I feel after I work out, but I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
It's painful.
Right.
And I think there's a part of speaking the truth in love that's the same way. Each of us is designed differently. So there's different part that is actually a challenge for all of us.
Right.
For some of us, speaking the truth, we're like, oh, easy, piece of cake. I speak the truth all the time. Whatever comes to my mind, boom.
Right. Tell it like it is.
Tell it like I'm just take me as I am.
Right.
Other people are like, well, I just want to accept everybody, and I don't want to kind of create any waves, and I just want to be a loving presence for people.
Right.
But the way of Jesus is both.
Right.
And all of us are challenged in one way when it comes to speaking the truth in love. Either we're challenged to speak the truth, or we're challenged to do so in a way that's actually motivated by love, not by our own self-interest.
Right.
And sometimes it's both. And it's really maybe one of the hardest practices to actually get right in the spiritual walk that we have.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And why it's called out here as the only perhaps action or verb in this passage. It's all about maturity. Your first verse talks about, immature and I'm sure it's a sobering metaphor to say you're an infant spiritually, but Paul's maybe doing that, speaking the truth in love, saying, listen, and he even uses the plural pronoun. He says, I'm no giant myself.
Right.
We all need to grow into maturity. But maybe just that's something we can think about is I wouldn't be inclined to invite you as my friend or my small group friend or my whoever, my mentor or mentee, to speak the truth in love if I didn't know
Right.
or believe that in some ways I am spiritually immature. And that spiritual immaturity is limiting my ability to do a lot of things, to be more like Christ, to love people, maybe to just be who God has called me to be. I mean, there has to be a motivation.
Right.
And so maybe that's why Paul starts to say, we all need to recognize that some of us are more immature than others. Some of us in X or Y area are more than others, but all of us are immature in ways, and we can't. There's no self-made saints.
Yeah.
I can't do it on my own. And speaking the truth in love, is and I loved your examples. You only used two. I mean, that stood out as far as men in your life. Let's say could be women, of course, but men in your life that have still in your life. Sounds like both of them. I'm sure you have more, but powerful. And I think it's good for us to think about. As you listen to this sermon again, to think, who are the people in your life? It's more than a concept.
Right.
Are there people in my life, in your life, that can who can speak to you? And it's not always. Sometimes we think of that as always negative. Speak the truth in love means stop doing this awful thing.
Right.
Sometimes that's
Sometimes
important,
it is,
of
but
course.
sometimes
but
not.
Some, the example you gave about Mike. I don't think I'm ruining it because you've heard the sermon. As an example.
Yeah.
Really, both of those two examples, Mike and Tim, was so rich. It wasn't negative. It was, I'm your friend. I'm your partner in life here, or kind and spiritually speaking, and I see an area in your life. I forget what your question is. What should I pay attention to in this season?
Yeah. I said it was just, we were golfing, and I just said, I need to get your wisdom here.
Yeah.
What's this next season I'm headed into? What should my priority? What do I need to adjust in life? What do I need my priority to be?
And so interesting. Most people, I'm guessing, if I'm on the golf course, they're saying, well, something about work, or something about money, or something about, put your hands to the plow kind of thing. And he says, you need to focus on your family.
Right.
It's just so interesting.
Yeah, it was.
So
yeah.
And you need people. I need people. And I see the question is, how do you do that? So I want to get to your final questions, but I can't, if you don't mind, skip this great story with your sister. If you say, not only you've told it in the sermon, but I personally found it as a almost perfect illustration of these, the marriage or the hand in glove working of these two powerful things. What do you remember about it?
Yeah, I mean, it is a powerful moment, and it's one of those ones that I am so grateful for my sister, and I observe her life. Like I said, I talk with her every week, and so I'm the recipient of her living these things out in her life, even in my own life. But in that moment, as my mom was getting near the end, she had this clarity of mind to just enter into my mom's world and to just whisper into her ear, "You are dying." And that, I would never have thought to do that.
Yeah.
But it's the ultimate example of this, in a sense, in that she said to my mom something that my mom in that state, I don't think she knew.
Right.
And it gave her clarity about what was happening to her in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was the most loving thing for her to do.
Isn't that
But it was a
something?
really hard truth too, that she's dying.
Yeah.
And just makes me think about all of the relationships that we have in our lives.
Yeah.
There's sometimes, it was said in the most loving way. Like, you can't imagine a more loving way to say the hardest thing, that you're dying right now.
Yeah.
But we need that, I think, throughout life, not just at the end. We need people to whisper into our ears, if you will.
Yeah.
there's something wrong, or keep going, or I'm here, or whatever that we need in that moment. We need people that know us enough and love us enough to speak the words that we need to hear in that moment.
Yeah, one of the implications of that, just repeating what you just said, is we need to have people that know us enough and love us enough. Your sister in that one example, even more than Mike and Tim. I mean, those were great too, but because it was so sobering, not only to talk about death itself, but to someone who is dying, when you can, one's normal inclination is try to be happy and like you were saying, we were thinking about just singing songs, but only a few people on the planet, maybe you and your sister, maybe one or two others, maybe not, would have had the quality of relationship with your mother, who could say something that was sobering, but would not be seen as harsh.
Right.
And so that's maybe a good question to think about, as I think about my life today, as you do about spiritual bodybuilding. Number one, these are just my summary thoughts. Do I believe today, and the answer is yes, but do I believe today that there are areas in my life of immaturity that need to grow, some more than others? And the answer to the question is yes. Number two, do I believe that I can't do that on my own? That there are no self-made saints. I cannot, as good as I may think I am at whatever, I cannot do it on my own. That's a fundamental theological truth being spoken here. And then, do I have people that know me well enough, or that I know well enough, because we need to do both, as you say, to be able to either speak the sobering, hard truth, as your sister did, to give me clarity and allow me to live and have agency, or to be connected in a moment, or that can even make me empower me to do something that I have been gifted to do, but I need the opportunity, invitation, like Tim, or to think about something I'm not seeing, like Mike's example. So I would just say to us friends, as you think about this with your small groups, with your spouses, if you're married, or close friends, one, do you have a list? Are there people in your life? That's really what this sermon is asking, I think. And then, what are the two questions? Remind me.
Yeah. So, do you need to speak the truth to somebody? Is there, in love, is there somebody that God's placing on your heart to speak the truth to? And then secondly, who can you invite to speak the truth to you?
Yeah.
It's a both and. God wants us to do both in order to grow.
Yeah. So great questions. Think about it. Maybe even if you're in your small group, you could even go around the room, if you, depending how close you are, and ask if you do have those people, or you want to be that kind of person, and pray together. So glad to be with you, my brother. Thanks for a great sermon. See you next time at Between Two Sermons.